We're back, buddy. We're back in the
We are
saddle.
back, dude. Back in the saddle, back on the road again. First and foremost, Merry Christmas, Michael.
Merry Christmas to you, my friend.
Merry Christmas to you. It is a December 23rd, 2021. Welcome aboard, folks. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We are episode 541.
We think.
We think no, yeah. Well, I mean, whatever. It's 541. It'll be in the 540 still when we come back to you next year. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. We know your time is valuable, so we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We cover swim, bike, run specific podcasts. We do race recaps. We do race previews. Sometimes we'll have on the occasional guest. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through personally, and also as athletes and coaches, what our athletes are going through. We work with a wide range of athletes from across the globe, from beginner level athletes that are just getting into the sport, looking to find their first sprint, Olympic, or half Ironman distance race to do, to elite level amateurs. And we use the kind of the topics and conversations and feedback that we get from them going through training peaks and just general discussions, and we'll use that to drive a lot of the conversations that he and I have. And then we'll often also go into our Facebook group, which is Crushing Iron Group. If you want to be a part of that conversation, hop right in and answer one simple question. A lot of awesome people in there, always a great community, and again, a whole wide range of different abilities and athletes with experience levels ranging from, again, beginners all the way to Ironman champions. So hop in there and be part of the conversation and be part of the positive community that we have. But that's it. We don't have sponsors. We don't have any ads. We do have, however, one agenda, and that is to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yes, we do. And can I just say that I have a little empathy for the northern athletes right now because I'm up in Wisconsin, and the thought
Yes,
of,
you.
it's a brisk, cold. It's pretty nice, decent today. It's in the mid 30s, but I was up further, maybe mid-state Wisconsin. It wasn't even all the way up there, but it was up near just Oshkosh area, and boy, it was a little bit brisk. It was tough to get. I would imagine it gets tough to get motivated a little bit at this
Yeah,
time.
listen, I want no part of that. As you and I were discussing before as we were trying to figure out our technical difficulties. Since I'm in Nashville and you're in Beloit, I think now at your mom's. We
Yep.
are yeah, we had to figure out Skype since we're not in the studio. But we were talking that, listen, I don't mind it when it's cold and sunny. I don't mind it. It could be 10, like it's been every morning here has been like 20s and 30s, which to me, but sunny. That's perfect weather. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm maybe not perfect, but it's perfect winter running weather. Like I can get behind it, and that's like, I don't know if you and I were talking about this. We talked about it on one of the podcasts. Is like, I love fall and winter running because it's refreshing. It's, kind of wakes you up, makes you feel alive, and because summer running feels like it's trying to kill you. Because it's it's
Yeah.
so humid and the dew point is just awful. But it's been so nice. But you sent me a picture, I think yesterday, of like the lake, and it's just been it's the dark, cloudy, gloomy skies and the cold weather that there's literally nothing inviting about outside. It's cold, it's gloomy, it's dark. No, thank you. So yeah, I do have a lot of sympathy for those athletes that in your neck of the woods and in the Oshkosh region that are having a probably a hard time
Shout
getting
out to
out the door. But
Oshkosh.
then again, yeah, but then again, it all comes full circle because they're the ones talking trash in June and July when we're suffering through 85 and 90-degree temps and humidity. They're like, "Oh, it was just a beautiful 65-degree day here in, Minnesota or Wisconsin." They did that in like September, October. So listen, it all comes full circle. It's all even. But yeah, I'm not jealous at all of your current predicament.
Well, I got to say, it's just one of those things you got to kind of get over a hump, I think, because I kept looking at that lake. It just froze over. It was for anybody up in that area, it was Pete well, and it's a massive lake, and it just froze, and there was people out there ice fishing, which, I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. But
Yeah, I mean, you're not a big
and I
fisherman
listened to a lot of
anyway, so
people
it's
talk.
not
They were
much advanced
selling me
ice
hard up
fishing.
here, man. Oh, it's a great time. You just hang out with your boys and
And
you
that,
drill
you
different holes in the.
yeah, you basically, it's not ice fishing, okay? you sit in a tiny cabin with your buddies and you drink beer, and there just happens to be a hole in the ice with strings going into it. That's
Well,
basically what ice fishing has to be. Like, I have to imagine
you're
every,
going to get, shot on that one because I got explained exactly how it works, and we don't have to go into it, but it's a little more complicated than that.
oh, I'm sure it is,
They put
but
holes all over the place outside of the shanty. I know it's
yeah,
weird,
but then
but
yeah, see, yeah, no thanks.
I'm
Ice,
working
I'm
on it.
out. I'm out with ice.
But I was thinking that would be great to ice skate is my point, and I think
There
we
you
can
go.
kind of do this.
We've got an athlete over in Sweden or Switzerland, I think. I keep getting those mixed up. Great, whatever. They're two very neutral, beautiful countries. Start with the letter S. And she's doing a 30K ice skating race.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
that.
yeah, like that. That's ultimate. That's ultimate off-season goals right there. Speaking of off-season goals, we often get a lot of positive and instructive feedback from our listeners in our Facebook group that, hey, we love you guys' conversation. We love how you kind of sit back, relax, and we feel like we're in the room with you. It's like we're sitting down with buddies at the table, having a beer, grabbing lunch, or having a cup of coffee. But, occasionally we wouldn't mind, a step-by-step actionable plan that we can kind of go by. And you know what? We're going to deliver on that today. We're going to deliver on that promise. It is you
Who
and I are
said
taking a
that?
little bit of what's that?
Who
A lot of
said
people
that?
say that. Who said that? His name's John, and he's from Oshkosh. No, but we listen. There's you and I are taking a little bit of time away to kind of recharge and refresh before 2022 starts. And I've been reading a lot. I've been working a little bit just on forecasting and doing some planning for races and stuff. But I figured, since I'm planning, most of you are probably planning too. And while we're about to have Christmas, tomorrow's Christmas Eve, then we got Christmas, and you got New Year's, and basically no one does anything. However, you can't expect to be ready on January 3rd, on that Monday. You can't expect to be ready to roll for the new year unless you have a plan. And while taking this 7, 10, 2 week, whatever it is, whole month of December time to relax, rejuvenate, be flexible, make sure you're following your December rules. If you don't know what those are, go back a couple about 10 podcasts ago when you can be enlightened on how we attack the month of December. But you can't be ready to roll on January 3rd unless you use these last 2 weeks of the month to create a plan. That's what we're gonna do today. I want to outline 5 specific ways for you to plan something actionable. I'll call it your plan of attack for January. They are simple, they're straightforward, but oftentimes things that athletes miss. And January is one of those months where, I mean, you know this. Everybody has hopes and dreams abound. It's rainbows. It's unicorns. Everything. The world is your oyster on January 3rd, January 1st. Because listen, we can't start the year because it doesn't start on a Monday. Everyone's still going to have a case of Mondays. So it's like, I'll start the new year on Monday because that's January 3rd. You're not. Let's be honest. You're not going to start the new year on a Saturday on New Year's Day. You're just not. You're gonna be partying. You're probably gonna be hungover. You're gonna have too much to eat. So use that time to plan and plan. And my number one on how to plan for a great January is plan accordingly. It seems simple, but plan accordingly means a few things. One, make a plan to get things ready. So basically, we always talk about train so you can train like you need to train. Plan accordingly means look at your schedule. How do you need to prepare yourself? Do you need to make lane reservations? Do you need to have, your bike tuned up? Have you even used your trainer in the last 4 months, or the last month? Do you know that it works? Do you have your stuff set up? Do you need a new pair of shoes? Do you need to get a new battery in your heart rate monitor? Do you need to, you know, uh, subscribe again to Swift or Training Peaks or whatever it is? Like, don't come out of the gate, and just try to attack the universe. Get the things ready that need to be ready. Pack your bag for the first day. Like listen, simple thing like that go a long way. Like, to me, like, plan accordingly is the triathlon January version of meal prep. Right? It's like if you want to have a successful week eating, if you're a person that meal preps and you want to be really, set up for success throughout the week with your meals are set aside, you know exactly what you're going to eat, they're ready, they're available, and you're set up for success because it's already done. That's this. That's planned accordingly. It's, pack your swim bag 2 days in advance. Lay the things out you need to for the week. Make sure you're looking at your schedule that, is this going to line up here? Is this going to line up here? Am I going to be able to swim that day? Is it really reasonable? And so just plan accordingly and kind of dust the, hey, if you need to dust off the shoes and maybe get some new laces because you haven't run in them in a while, do that. But take the next week or two, plan accordingly, and plan for a great January.
Man, I always feel like you're talking to me when you say stuff like that.
That's
And,
what you sound like a listener. They're like, or one of our athletes that, like, we get done with the podcast, we'll text like, hey, were you talking about me on today's podcast? I'm like, no,
yeah,
remember
well, I
about
mean,
that stuff.
I'm good
Talking to
fodder.
we're
I think,
talking to everyone.
I know, but like I was just saying that, I'm like, wait, where did I put my bike bottles, by the way? It's sort of like, and it is one of those things where, you kind of get home and it's late at night and you're like, I'll just do that in the morning. I think it's always better to do it at night, lay out the outfit kind of thing.
Hmm.
And it does make such a difference. And I think I could see how you could get really behind the eight ball on a lot of things after a late season race and you just chuck everything in the same bag, and it's like, where'd I even put that bag? Is it my trunk or my closet? And I think well, at least me, but I'm sure a lot of people kind of get in that same groove where things just sort of get put wherever, and then that morning you wake up and you're ready to roll and can't find anything, and it's like, I'll just start tomorrow.
Listen, because we know you're not going to start January 1st. I mean, and
Oh,
so
I am.
January 3rd, you're crocking. Yeah, I bet you are. You're hopping in on
Start
you're
a
hopping in on
hotel
Monday.
treadmill.
Most of you guys are gonna be going back to work. Kids might be going back to school. You haven't been in a routine in 2 weeks. Now you're going to get back in a routine. Get the stuff done. You need to get stuff. Make sure you've got nutrition, right? The simple things. If you haven't even hopped on your bike since your last race of the year, and you had race wheels, take your carbon pads and your race wheels off. Put your training wheels back on. Like, change out your back trainer tire. Go ahead and put your bike back on the trainer. If you have one of those, direct drive trainers, deal with that. If you use Trainer Road or Zwift or any of those, platforms, make sure your software is up to date. Make sure things are, all your things are in a row. Make sure you're set up for success. Pack your swim bag. All the and if you need something, order it now, because not everything is readily available. Yes, you can depend on Amazon to get your apron and your last minute Christmas shopping basically to you in like 3 hours, but it's not that way for all supply chains. So if you need something, order it now. Do your updates, do what you need to do. Just take care of like the basic, low hanging fruit, because once the door opens and the alarm clock goes off on that Monday morning and it's back to reality and you're back to the daily routine with work and life and family and kids and whatever, you need to not to have to worry about being successful in your training. So plan accordingly. And on top of that, the next one, I think honestly the most important one,
I was gonna
plan
say,
reasonably.
yeah,
Plan reasonably. Like, I think we talk about this once a month, in some way, shape, or form throughout all the podcasts that we do and all the different parts of the season. But plan your month. This is especially for athletes that are self-coached or going off a plan. Even if you have a coach, plan reasonably. Because even if you have a coach, you might tell them, hey, yeah, I've got at least, like, I'm ready to crush it 2022, right? I'm ready to demolish things. I can handle 14 to 16 hours. Just load me, coach. I've had some time off. I'm ready to get back at it. I'm re-energized. Aim low. I'm telling you right now, aim low. The worst thing you can do for yourself is to aim high in January, especially if you've taken time off. You're probably already going through some level of detraining, which happens after about 7 to 10 days. So you're going to see a higher heart rate. You're going to fatigue earlier. Your aerobic capacity is going to be there. Your heart rate's probably going to get quicker or higher, a lot quicker than it has before. Your legs are going to be a little bit more sore. You may or may not be carrying a little bit extra weight, which is going to affect things. Plan reasonably. Don't come out of the gate like a bat out of hell. Plan reasonably, and that goes for all three sports. It goes for intensity, it goes for volume, and it really just goes for mentality. It's just, you plan reasonably and don't expect to, you know, don't try to peak in January, which is honestly what happens to a lot of athletes. They peak in January, February because they become so stringent and so strict with basically overhauling their life and their training, diet, whatever else they're tracking professionally. They make all these resolutions and things they want to do for the year, and they adhere to their training. They're so strict, they just get burnt out, and then they're toast. Just remember to plan reasonably. January is not the month to peak. It is, again, that month to train, so we can train like you need to train to race the way you want to race, and that's how you need to approach the month of January.
Yeah, and I think that one of my worst qualities is to be patient, because especially if you train and you did a race later in the year, and maybe if you're kind of taking it easy or whatever, and like we always talk about, sort of that fitness is, it's kind of, a little rusty, but you have to, I think, just be patient and have confidence that you still have something in there. If you were training for triathlon all year this year and you happen to take a month off or something like that, I wouldn't get, it's sort of like it can induce panic or something. And it's sort of like, I got to get it back real quick. But like you're saying,
Exactly. I've lost so much in December. I've got to get it all back.
yeah, it's just, it's still marinating in there. And I think that if we just kind of slowly wake it up, it's kind of like a little bit of a hibernation. You don't want to come flying out of the gate. I think bears even kind of, they yawn a little bit and they get it going.
Yeah,
Stretch it out.
do you want to mess with the bear? No, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and what you said leads perfectly into number 3. Number 3 is plan for progress, not perfection, which is one of my favorite quotes and one we use a lot. Plan for progress, not perfection. That goes for going forward, but also what you said about thinking about where you were. So many athletes coming off of their late season big race, August, September, October, November. You're going to put back on those run shoes. You're going to hop back on the bike. You're going to jump back in the pool, and you're going to feel and want and believe that you're still the same athlete that you were in the last quarter of last year when you're at your peak. And you're probably going to be tempted to chase those times, to chase those paces, to chase those watts, to chase even the same duration and intensity, and it's going to burn you into the ground. You really have to honestly approach the month of January with absolutely zero expectations in terms of performance. It is about getting back into the swing of things. It is about establishing a routine, about getting back your consistency. It is more of a preparatory phase than it is a specific, main block from athletes. It is about progress. And then the other big thing, it is not about perfection. I honestly would encourage, because listen, if you're listening right now, I bet a lot of athletes saying, I'm not going to miss a workout the first 2 weeks. I mean, I'm not doing. I'm going to get back and think. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. Here, let me say it again. Consistency does not
Consistency
mean
doesn't mean perfection.
perfection. You can miss a day of the week to working out and still consider yourself consistent. That is and I would honestly encourage you to miss or cut short or take a day off one day in the first 2 weeks of January. Why? To get that monkey off your back. You're no longer going to have that strict and adhered to structure of a schedule that's saying, all right, I've got this streak going. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to keep it going. I've got it. And because what happens is just the mental and emotional toll that takes over weeks and months to do things and to force yourself into workouts this early in the year will not pay dividends down the road. It'll actually prevent. Now, is there a time and place to probably get that done? Yeah, and that time and place is like 6 to 8 weeks out of your main race. It's not the month of January. It's kind of like being obsessed with something that you buy or that you get that's perfect and has no marks on it, no nothing. It's kind of like putting a little baby scratch on it and being like, all right, well, it's no longer perfect anymore. I can quit stressing about keeping it up, and just kind of let it be what it is and enjoy it for what it is. Kind of like getting your new. It's like, let's see a lot of people get a new pair of shoes, and they're like, I don't want to get them scuffed up. And they like barely run in them or do things, and they stress so much about like scuffing them up. But then once they get one scuff, then they're just running free. They just kind of like treat them like you should treat a pair of running shoes. It's just to make sure you, again, plan for progress and not perfection. January is not the month to be perfect. First and foremost, because guess what? The other 11 months out of the year, ain't going to be perfect either. So you might as well practice that, because honestly, what I think is, and this is something that we kind of weave into, our December rules, and the reason we have, the reason we have them the way we have them, and this taking at least 6 days off, is that teaching and encouraging and letting athletes figure out how to be okay being the owner of their own plan, even if they don't write it, but to be the owner of their own plan, the owner of their own process, to make these last minute decisions, to take a day off or to cut something short. That is a huge underrated skill that most athletes don't possess. They will run themselves into the ground just for the sake of staying, green in training peaks or keeping a streak alive, and then they end up crashing and burning. And instead of missing one workout here and there over 3 months, they end up missing an entire month of burnout, or don't even want to race anymore because they've burnt themselves and they've driven themselves into the ground by their rigidity and their unwillingness to listen to their body, and most importantly, listen to your mind. Because with everything else going on, if you're a person setting all kinds of new goals and expectations for the year, good luck. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, but we set so many goals and objectives and performance related, things for us to accomplish throughout January, February, March, that it becomes like, it's kind of just like you end up chasing your tail, one thing after another. I don't feel ever successful. I'm just kind of almost getting there. We're trying to be great in all these different areas. All you got to do, going back to, podcast, where it goes like, great is the enemy of good. Just try to be pretty good in January, because if you can string together 5 to 6 to 7 months of being pretty good and pretty consistent in training, you're going to be ready to roll come race season. But if you try so hard to be perfect and great in January, February, it's going to turn into not enough. And then it's going to turn into none at all. And that is not how you want to be later on in the year.
Yeah, and I think one of the ways to be solid at being imperfect or whatever you want to call it is really got to pay attention to where you are today, right? We talk about how is doing what you're doing today going to set you up for success tomorrow. And I think a lot of times, you may have let's say an hour run on the schedule today, and or the day after Christmas or whatever it is, and you're not quite up for that. So it's like, what do? You stop while you're ahead, kind of thing. I think, it's a bit, and that
Mm-hmm.
can be imperfect in a sense, but it can be perfect. And like, you get part of it in, or you get something going, you gave it a shot, but like, really listen to your body, because if you think what you're doing today based on what you did yesterday is going to screw up tomorrow, I mean, that's another way to kind of keep the streak going, is just kind of ease off the day today and then just get something in tomorrow. I mean, it doesn't always have to be perfect in that regard, but if you can kind of get out there and you still have what you need to keep coming back to the well, I mean, to me, that's a huge thing right now, is just not overdoing it on any particular day that it might screw up the next.
It is all about what you can, the highest level you can maintain for the longest period of time. And that is something that, again, most athletes just kind of fail to wrap their brain around. They think, all right, what's the highest level I can maintain this week? And then they think anything less than that isn't good enough. Fine, like, it's like, give me the athlete who is committed and who knows their body well enough and their schedule and their routine well enough that they can work out, that they can train 5, 6 days a week for 6 to 8 months straight. Give me them. Don't give me the athlete who drives themselves in the ground by trying to make sure they never miss a workout 7 days a week for 4 months, and then they get hurt or they get sick or they get burnt out. And then they go down to only hitting maybe 2 or 3 a week or missing weeks totally. I don't want that. Do something you can find long term. And that is why January is so important, because it establishes the mentality and the routine and the type of structure you want to have for later on in the year. It kind of goes back to, you know, um, what we all say about 20-minute runs. Well, I don't watch 20 minutes. What's that going to do? If you can't make time for 20, how are you going to make time for 30? How are you going to make time for 40? Make time for the
Exactly.
20. And January is the time to make time for those 20s in every part of your training. But also, and then number 4, plan something non-triathlon related. January is not the month to set your countdown clock on your September Ironman race. You know, because it to me it just does, like, it does two things. One, it makes the journey too long, right? It makes you think, God, I've got forever away. How am I going to keep this up? How am I going to stay focused for 8 months? It seems so long. And then what happens is like 3 or 4 months in, you're like, you're no longer interested. You're disinterested. You're like, nah, I'm good. I don't want any part of this. Like, I want to do something different. Um, don't think and don't set your countdown clock that far ahead, because it also, on the flip side, does something else. You think, I got forever. I don't really need to get started to my training until March and April. I can just kind of, like, it's not till September, right? I got a couple of races here and there, but because what that happens is, or what that does to you is, doesn't put you in a spot to be ready to train in the way you need to train when it comes time. Then you start to, kind of going back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast, when I said I love running in fall and winter because it makes you feel alive and it makes you feel fresh, and it just kind of, even the cold crisp air, just something about it. But what it also does, was, you're doing it this time of year, it sure does make running in the spring and summer a hell of a lot easier. When it feels like the humidity and the dew point, the temps are trying to kill you, you're a little more resistant to that when you've been running and you've been training the previous 6 months, not when you decide to pick it up in March and April and just get your act together, and then before you know it, boom, summer heat's here, dew point, humidity, temps. It's going to make it very, very uncomfortable. So plan something sooner, a 5K, a 10K, a bike race, something fun, in one of your virtual worlds, like something
In one of your
exciting,
virtual worlds.
in one of your virtual
One
worlds,
of your
like
cute little virtual worlds.
your cute little virtual worlds. Like that. That's gonna, because, listen, I'm all about. We had that, like, question, one of our Q&As, um, back in, I think, 2 weeks ago, was, do I think you should ride on your trainer and do Zwift every single day? No, I don't. Do I think it has its benefits, especially this time of year? Yes. Because, again, going back to what you were saying about, I bet you it's hard to get out the door this time of year. If it keeps you excited and keeps you entertained and keeps you on your bike 2, 3, 4 times a week this time of year, I'm all for it. That's the stamp of approval. Get on there and do it. If it keeps you active and keeps you, because, listen, that's all this year is about. Staying engaged, keeping your mind right, being, if it's entertained, be entertained. If it's about being engaged and finding good challenges, find good challenges. Like, so it can be anything that's related to that. So find something that's gonna just keep things spicy, this time of year.
Keep things
As best
spicy.
you can. Keep things spicy.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to one of our first podcasts when we were talking about running with music and stuff, and I agree with that. I do think, though, that there's something to be said for being able to figure out, you know, how to get spicy when you don't have all those distractions. In other words, getting sort of into your body and really feeling it. Because I know we can do it, and I think there's something to be said for keeping engaged with things. And I agree. I've been running with music this time all the time, but when I try to get into I don't know. I just think it helps. I think it helps you learn to get through the toughness of it, and I think that's a whole different topic, obviously. But um, whatever it takes, right? I haven't.
It,
I
it's
haven't.
it's in your toolbox, right? Like,
Yeah,
in like,
but don't
should you,
abuse it.
and
I just think that there's something to be
exactly.
said for, we talk about having a good time and enjoying everything, but there's a time in the sport when you kind of have to sort through that and really kind of dig in and really be in touch with what you're doing.
Yeah,
That's just
I'm
my.
all for that, and I think you said it. I think you said it beautifully. It's a great tool, just like music. It's a great tool to have in your toolbox. Do you want it to be the only tool, and do you want it to create a version or athlete of yourself to where you can't get it done without it? No, because that's what's called being dependent. Don't become dependent on music. Oh, I forgot my iPod today. I guess I can't run. Pardon
I
me?
know that's the same thing with the
What the hell
watch. I
did you
got the
just
pool
say?
and I don't have my watch. I can't
Stop
swim.
it. Yeah, stop it. Like, that's
So
when you become so dependent on it that it becomes a negative and a drawback. Same goes for Zwift and Trainer Road and your smart trainers. If you become solely dependent on it to where, Zwift crashed today and I couldn't work out. Excuse me? Did a virtual monster leap out of the software and rip the pedals off your bike? Didn't think so. So get back on your bike and do your workout, the way everyone else does. Don't be dependent. Is it a great tool to have? Again, to keep things spicy, to keep you engaged, to keep you motivated to hop on group workouts. I mean, we even might do some of this next year to keep people engaged and having a feeling and sense of community, as a team, because that's what you need in the wintertime, especially when because it's already a solo endeavor. No one's really meeting up for group rides in January in Oshkosh, or going out for group runs and, in Michigan, because it's too damn cold. So find a way to keep it fresh, keep it spicy, do something that's going to keep you engaged. Again, not just to keep your attention span, but to keep something on the horizon that's actually visible, right? And that you can that you have this like healthy sense of urgency to do, like a 10K or a 5K or open half marathon, or whatever it is, or trying to tackle your favorite route, on your gravel bike. It keeps it close enough to where those days where you might feel like not doing anything, if your countdown clock says, all right, Ironman Chattanooga, 287 days. Bye. See you later. I'm not going to do anything today. You might think, oh, I got that open up marathon, and I'm actually feeling pretty good. And that's in 7 weeks. You know what? I'm gonna go run today. Like, that's why you need something a little more, again, a little more near to, or a little closer to your, this first quarter of the year, to kind of keep things engaged. But then as we kind of finish up this, it always leads to number 5: plan your main race. And a lot of athletes, like we just got done with our athletes filling in and sending in their 2022 race forms, and they've got tons and tons of races. And they kind of joked last week on Zoom that they were like, yeah, there is no such thing as a B, C, and D race. There's only A races. Like, it's like, I've got 16 A races of the year, which are fine if you want to take it that way. And this is especially if you're self-coached. Plan around and for your main race. And that's playing your training, playing your calendar. It doesn't mean focus on it. It just makes your plan. Is it a bike heavy course? Is it a swim heavy course? Is it a run heavy course? And I mean that by like the terrain. Is it more demanding? Is it more demanding on hills like Wisconsin or Lake Placid or Coeur d'Alene? Or is it flat, like Florida, Arizona, Texas? Those demands are totally different from the bike. One is going to be more about, being able to climb and having, a pretty good power to weight ratio. It'll be about climbing and muscular endurance and probably doing a lot of big gear work for long periods of time. It's also going to be about, being prepared to, be awesome on your descents, which is about bike handling. Is your bike has have a lot of turns like Wisconsin, or is it basically no turns like Florida? On the other side, if it's a bike course like Florida, Arizona, Texas, you better be ready to stay aero for a long period of time, right? So start that now. Don't start it in July, right? Because you're going to be wanting to do 3 hours of your legs will have 3 hours, but your aero, posture will only have about 30 minutes in it, and that's going to make you not want to do it, which is just going to kind of lead you into race day not being in shape to ride aero. So start that now. Same goes for the run, right? If you've got a fairly hard run course, prepare for it. If you've got lots of uphills and lots of downhills, stop taking the flat route. Take the rolling route. Choose a rolling terrain. Doesn't have to be overly hilly, but choose the terrain and go ahead and start chipping away at that. Again, doesn't have to be 10% hill repeats every day or a rolling route every session, but twice a week, take the rolling route, especially on the long run. Forget about your pace. Think about the long term. Same goes for flat races. Build that strength now, but know that you're going to have to be prepared to run, a flat race. Which, to me, and you and I've always agreed on this. To me, running a flat race, no, thank you, because you
Yeah.
don't have like it absolutely demolishes your quads. You don't get any change of pace. Your cadence is the same. Your quads are taking the brunt of the impact, whereas you have like rolling terrain. Your cadence is changing up. You're kind of changing up, going from quads and more like hamstrings and glutes and calves. I'll give that to me all day, every day. But again, or if it's really hilly, like a course like Chattanooga, where the downhills, in my opinion, beat you up more than the uphills. Especially when your legs get tired. Start to think about that. And so don't attack the race, the date itself. Be prepared and create a plan of attack. This is especially if you're self-coached, to tackle the course and be prepared to race on that course. Same goes for swim. Is it a downstream swim? Is it a hard swim? All these things. Plan for your main race and all the little small details that go into it to kind of keep you engaged.
Hmm. Yeah, I like what you said, kind of start chipping away at that game plan, because that's the thing, right? You got a lot of time, but now is the time to really like if you're running a hill, or if you have a hilly race and you start running hills now, I mean, 'cause think about how mentally, we see people coming into town all the time that are from flatter areas or that don't run a lot of hills, and then we go out and do, camps around wherever, and they're super hilly. And but there's a definite difference when you can tell, like we were lucky to kind of train a lot in Nashville because it's just a hilly
Mm-hmm.
place.
Yep.
And the more you run hills, the more you actually like them. And um, I just think they make you a better overall runner. I mean, it's the same thing with like trail running and things like that. So, and trail running is a great thing to be doing now too. And just to kind of broaden your base and give you more skill up above and beyond maybe what you might need in that race. If you can start working on that package right now, you'd be way ahead of the game. And that takes that. We always talk about like swimming hard and swimming strong right now all year round. Really working on your swim so you can make that a kind of insignificant part of your day. Rather than being stressed out and anxiety ridden the whole time before you get in the water, and then it turns into a cluster, and next thing you know, you're sucking gas coming out of the water. You kind of want to try and eliminate those challenges as much as you can by like overcompensating a little bit, in training to make sure that it's that training or practicing hard and racing easy or whatever, or
Yep.
playing, so the game doesn't seem as difficult. And those are little things you can do now. Chipping away, I thought was a really good analogy for that.
Just chip away at it and get ready. And listen, like this is the last thing I'll say, and we can close it out. January is a month to get back in the water. Stop waiting. Like oh, I've got the rest of the year, because here's the typical triathlete mentality. The longer you wait and the longer you procrastinate, the longer it's going to go. The longer the time between swimming and not swimming is going to increase, because you're not going to want to face how much slower you've gotten when you go back. You're not going to want to go back because it's going to feel harder. Well, guess what? The longer you go without swimming, the harder it's going to feel and the slower you're going to be. So go ahead and cut that off right now and find your way back to the pool in January. Have
And
a
just
Merry
get in,
Christmas and a
man.
Happy New Year. Yeah, just get
Yeah, you
in.
don't have to
Don't
just get
don't
in the
expect
water,
greatness.
because
Just
you don't
get
have to
in
do
the
40
water.
100s like, January 4th. Do 3 100s. I don't care what it is, but get in the water and start getting the feel for it and getting that habit built, because that's really a big part of swimming is just kind of feeling comfortable going and jumping in the water and being consistent with it. You don't have to break any records.
Yeah, are you training to be a duathlete or a triathlete this year? Ask yourself that question when you look at your January schedule. Well, who am I trying to be? A duathlete who might swim some before a race in the late part of the season? Because guess what? Go ask any duathlete if they said, "All right, everybody trains biking and running. We're gonna do run, bike, run today," and they walk onto the race side, and the race director says, "All right, let announcement. The run course, the beginning of the run course has been shut down. We're gonna require you guys, we're gonna do a 1,500-meter swim, open water swim before you bike and run today." Guess what the first thing they're all going to think? Oh Jesus, that's going to really affect my bike and my run. I'm not in swim shape. Yet triathletes think the exact opposite. Oh, it's just the shortest part of the event, just to warm up. It affects everything you do. So don't do the amount of effort you put in training to the bike and run. Don't do that a disservice by choosing not to swim train. Get after it, get going, get moving, and get back in that pool.
Yep,
Otherwise,
let's do
fish.
it.
Do whatever you need to do.
Cold water
The,
plunges, that cuts
yeah,
off a lot of swim
that'll
training that you
that'll
need.
yeah, for sure, that'll wake you up though. We hope this woke you up on what we hope is a wonderful Christmas Eve, and we hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas. Head over to our website if you're busy and trying to avoid your in-laws. Just staring at your phone on Facebook or Instagram, trying not to look at your aunt and uncle who might want to have awkward conversations about politics or religion, go to C26triathlon.com to alleviate some of that pain. Click on our coaching tab and you can check out our club membership, which is, hey, if you email Mike nicely, he might let you still take advantage of that. That's we have a club membership, Club Plus, and the Club Hub package. And then also you can check out our stable of coaches for 2022 if you're interested in getting some help along the way. And that's it. That's all I've got. If you have anything for Mike, he is always available, crushingiron@gmail.com. And if you need anything from me specifically, I'm at C26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. I'm glad we pulled this together.
Me too, man.
All right. Hang on for a second, and Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, guys.